This is Abby Blue. Welcome to our podcast. We're going to be discussing topics related with immigration, and today we have the pleasure to be with Ryan Bailey, our immigration director and American attorney. Welcome to our podcast, Ryan.
Hi, Kevin. It's good to be here.
We're going to be talking about Irish work permits. I have some questions ready, so let's get started. At the moment, there are so many people in Ireland who have a degree, they have their work experience, but they are not able to get a job. And we have the same situation with other people in other countries that they want to move here, but they don't have a work permit, or maybe they don't even know how it works and they don't even know if they can apply. So the first question would be, what are the eligibility criteria for an Irish general work permit?
That's a good question. So the Department of Enterprise, Trade, and Employment is in charge of everything that has to do with work permits. We call them DETE for short. And they set all the rules, the Minister of DETE. The very first thing is you need a job offer.
Okay.
You need to have made a connection with somebody and they need to want to hire you. That part is up to you. We can't really help with that. We do it the same way as you would. You know, you go on Indeed, you go on LinkedIn, you talk to your friends and relatives, you talk to former people that you used to work with. You kind of work through communities that you have access to and see if someone there wants to hire you or knows somebody who wants to hire you. And then you get started with us. Once you get a job offer, the job needs to fit into a classification that isn't ineligible. So DETE has made a long list of jobs that are just not eligible for work permits. So those are going to be mostly either really unskilled jobs or like jobs that there are already a lot of people willing to do. Stocking shelves or that sort of thing, answering phones. The job can be any number of hours per week, but it has to pay at least $30,000 a year. They're never going to grant a work permit for something that's less than $30,000 a year, except in some weird circumstances that don't apply to you.
Okay, perfect.
Your employer has to be paying monthly revenue returns, and they have to have at least 50% EU citizens working there. So if they can't have their whole business staffed by immigrants.
Okay.
And finally, if it's clear that you got a job offer while you were looking for work, while you were here on a tourist visa,
Okay.
your permit is going to be denied. So a lot of our applicants are either current students or recent students, including people taking English courses. They're people switching jobs, or they're spouses of people who are here on other general work permits, and those people are all allowed to look for a job. But if you're here to see the Blarney Stone, and then you get a job offer and we're applying for you the next day, DET is probably going to deny your permit. You need to be gone.
So for example, if I'm studying right now English and I get a job offer, what should I do then?
That's okay, because you're allowed to look for work while you're here as a student. You're not allowed to look for work while you're here as a tourist.
Okay. So
if you're here to visit relatives, you're not really allowed to look for work. So it's just the visiting status is not allowed.
Okay.
So maybe you have some interesting conversations with people while you're here, and then when you go back to your home country or you move on to the next country that you're doing tourist stuff of, you go to the UK to go see Stonehenge or whatever and do tourist things over there, then you can get an email from your boss that says, your new boss that says, I've been thinking about that conversation we had before, and I would like to, I think, you could probably come work for me. I have kind of needs like that. And was that something you would be interested in? And you could say, yeah, that would be great. And then you hire us and we'll start working on your employment permit.
Okay, that's perfect. I think that so many people will be interested on this information. So many people come to visit Ireland. They know so many people, and these kind of scenarios happen often. So now you know what to do, right? So, for example, they already got a job offer. What do they have to do now? How do they apply for it?
So once you have a job offer, then you hire us to prepare the application. That's where we step in, and that's what we specialize in. So for a general work permit, the first thing we would do is conduct a labor market needs test. And that's where the DETE wants to make sure that there aren't a whole bunch of native Irish people clamoring for or other citizens or stamp fours clamoring for this job, and so we have to advertise it in a way that people can see it, people in the area can see it, and
Okay.
if they want it, they can apply to it if they have the qualifications. So we have to advertise for 28 days on the government's job site, and then in the newspaper and online. So we take care of all that. We have a system we like that works well. It does cost a little bit, so we charge a little bit more for that than we do for other kinds of work permits. But during those 4 weeks that we're waiting for that job to kind of sit, we'll collect some information and documents from you and your new employer. And so then as soon as the 28 days is finished, we can finalize the application, and then it can't be changed anymore. And then you and your employer and I will all sign and scan our pages, and I'll upload them with all the other documents that I got from you and your boss. Then someone has to pay €1,000 government fee with any card. Sometimes it's the employer, sometimes it's the employee. Sometimes they pay us and have us pay it for them. It's just whatever you guys are comfortable with. And at the moment, DETE are taking like 4 weeks to process and approve new applications. It actually varies quite a bit. Last year, there was a time when it was taking a few months. Right at the very end of the year, it was taking like a week because they were denying everything.
There were so many
And
people applying, probably.
yeah, I think there was kind of a post COVID kind of the dam had broken, and there was a wave of people applying again.
So, for
And so they
example,
had trouble catching them.
if I apply and they deny the application, can I apply again, or how does it work? Do I have to
Yeah, you
wait?
can. They'll give you reasons why they denied it. And then we get 28 days to respond with some kind of appeal if we want, where we can say, um, you know, that's not a good reason to deny the application, or actually we did provide those documents, it's here and here, and then they can think about it and decide if they want to go back and approve it. Otherwise, if they were right and we did forget to include your employment contract or something like that, then they refund most of your money, and then we apply again. um so a lot of times, and then sometimes there's something in between where they'll get the application and they'll go, could we get a little more documentation on this one thing? Could we see what maybe they'll want to see your visa stamp from when you left the country on your tourist thing, and they can compare some dates there.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't really deny it right out, but they'll say, can I get some more documentation? And that's usually a good sign. That's usually because they're trying to approve it, but they can't check all the right boxes yet.
This is a very, I'd say, complex process, and I think that the best, if, for example, if you have no idea of how to do this process, I think that the best way is to go and ask an expert. In this case, AB Blue. We have different agents, and they will help you with all the process. They will guide you through all the steps, and they will answer you all the questions. So, for example, I have seen that there are different work permits, right? So what are the key difference between an Irish general work permit and other types of work permits in Ireland?
Yeah, that's a good question. The biggest difference is the benefits that they offer. A general employment permit lets you bring your family and other dependents
Okay.
after a year of living and working here under your permit. There's a more unusual one called atypical working scheme for jobs that are up to 90 days. Those don't allow dependents at all. But critical skills work permit holders can bring their dependents immediately, so they can all come together after the permit has been granted. Another difference is the stamps that your spouse gets.
Okay.
If you have a general work permit and your spouse comes after a year, they can get a stamp 3, which is just permission to live here, and that's it. It is reckonable for citizenship, which is nice. So those years on the stamp 3 will add up, and after 5 years you can become a citizen. But it's not letting you do anything else.
Okay.
spouses of critical skills employment permit holders can get a stamp 1G, which is pretty nice, and that allows them to work anywhere for any number of hours. So that's just kind of an open ticket to work, which is helpful if you're trying to pay, Irish rent. And that is a special kind of stamp 1G that is also reckonable for citizenship. So that will add up. General work permits get you a stamp 4, which is a permission to live here that's unconnected to your job, because these employment permits that we're getting you is for a specific job. So it's for Kevin to be the programmer at this company, and if you're at a different company, it's not good anymore. But a stamp 4 is just permission to live here and work wherever you want.
So basically, depending of your experience and your situation, you'll have to get a specific work permit. So every case is different.
Yeah. So with the general work permit, you get a stamp 4 after 5 years, but a critical skills work permit gets you one after 2 years.
Okay.
Which is very nice. So like in certain ways, it's easier to get a general because you don't have to meet the pretty tight requirements to get a critical skills employment permit. But in other ways, it's a little harder because you have to complete the labor market needs test, which can be, a hassle.
Okay.
One nice thing, we have not yet had anyone apply for the jobs in labor market needs tests. No one who had the qualifications, the minimum qualifications, where we say you have to have a degree in this, you have to have 2 years of experience. Nobody has ever jumped in and made us, sort out that problem. It depends on, I would say, the qualifications of the employee.
Oh, okay.
So they're getting kind of the best work permit that they can get based on their the job classification that they can qualify for. Yeah.
Okay, I understand now. So, for example, we see that so many people come to Ireland to get a job. Obviously, most of them, they have degrees, they have different qualification. So I think that one question that is so interesting is what industries are most commonly covered by Irish General Work Permit? Are they doctors? Are they engineers?
No, they are not. I've actually seen people online in immigrant groups giving people immigration advice, and they don't know that there is such a thing as a general employment permit. They tell people that you have to be a doctor or you have to be an engineer or an IT professional, and otherwise you can't get an employment permit here, and you need to stay home in your home country, and that's not true. So as a very general rule, unskilled jobs are ineligible for employment permits, and highly skilled jobs that require advanced degrees are critical skills. So general is mostly in between those. So managers and HR people, or people with technical skills, or people with bachelor's degrees are usually getting a general employment permit.
So basically, this is not that difficult to get a work permit if you don't have a degree.
There are a lot of classifications that we could get you in a general employment permit for where you don't have a degree. A lot of construction related jobs, especially, used to be on the ineligible list until the minister started to realize, how bad the housing crisis was, and suddenly bricklayers are eligible for general employment permits, and plasterers and crane drivers, and a lot of things that are involved in making a build site and putting up some houses. So a lot of those guys don't have a bachelor's degree, but they
have the skills.
They have the skills. They were an apprentice to somebody. They've done it before. They did it in their home country, and they can do it here. So basically there are a few like that.
Okay, so basically these conditions change like every few months. That now the country needs people that knows about construction. So now they are eligible to apply.
Yeah. Every couple of years, there's little adjustments.
So basically, where can I check this? Will be in the same website that we mentioned before.
A different website on the enterprise.gov.ie will have the latest notices and developments And they only post something there a couple times a year.
Okay.
But yeah, we can include a link to that too if people want.
Yeah.
The lists of the jobs. Well, I guess that won't help. I guess that won't tell them all the eligible classifications. You'd have to talk to us about
Yeah.
all the eligible
Yeah, I think
classifications.
that's the best option, because there are so many professionals out there. It's basically so difficult to put all of them in one website. So if you're not sure about your profession, if your profession is going to be eligible for the work permit, the best option that you have at the moment is just ask a professional. You can send us an email, talk with one of our agents, and we will help you with this situation that probably you will be eligible and we can go forward. That if you can find information sometimes in the website, is better to ask someone who actually knows about the topic.
Yeah.
So for example,
So I was going to say, like a lot of these people are also assisting critical skills people.
okay.
So they'll be kind of on the side working with the people that are on the super qualified people on the critical skills lists.
Oh,
So like dental assistants are going to be general work permits, legal assistants, IT assistant kind of jobs, or they'll have a simpler job like a tour guide or a phone customer service representative, but they're also fluent in the official language of a non-EU country. A lot of applicants obviously are fluent in the official language of a non-EU country.
okay.
A lot of general permits holders are, like I said, construction people, or they might be marketing people. A lot of people know how to do marketing and want to come here and do the jobs, and there just aren't that many people here coming out of Irish schools, who are doing that.
Perfect. So, for example, we know that obviously every person who gets a work permit, they get so many benefits. They can come to Ireland, they can earn some money and experience. But what are the benefits of obtaining an Irish general work permit for an employer? Is the employer gonna get any benefit because that employer has a employee with a general work permit?
Yeah. In some ways it's easier to get approved because DETE isn't checking to make sure you're actually qualified for a certain like really narrow classification. It also has a slightly lower minimum pay than a critical skills employment permit, which might make the difference for certain small businesses. If this is the fourth person they're hiring for their business, a couple €1,000 might make it possible. And so this permit is how most businesses, especially small businesses, are able to hire certain specialists or people with certain technical skills or language skills. There's like a finite number of licensed coach drivers in Ireland, and Dutch coach drivers don't necessarily want to move here and maybe uproot their family to take that job. So this is how we get those people in and get those roles filled. Most employees are getting a better quality of life than where they're from, and better career opportunities than they had in their home country.
So
yeah,
both parties get so many benefits from this. And obviously we know that we get so many benefits, but for example, if I have an Irish work permit, do I have any limitations or restrictions with that permit?
Yeah. So one is you can't bring your family until you've been working here for a year, as I mentioned. And once your spouse arrives, they're not going to be able to work unless they get their own employment permit, which they can. We would just have to do both of them for you. You can't own a business, and you can't own part of a business on the stamp that you get from this. You would have to be a stamp 4 for that.
So then I will have to go through a different process. We'll have to apply for a passport, or what would they have to do then?
No. Once you're a stamp 4, you could be a co-owner of a business, but you would have to just be working here for long enough. So as I said, if you're on a general, you'd be working here for 5 years before you get your stamp 4. If you're on a critical skills, you're here for 2 years, and you can be on a stamp 4. So if you're an engineer or something, if you're a software guy and you move here, you can work for your boss doing software stuff for 2 years, and then you can quit and start a new business, with one of your new friends here on the island. That's a topic for a different podcast. But so you also can't, on a general, you can't leave your job during the first year. DET doesn't want you to. They know, they kind of want to recognize the sacrifice, I guess, that your employer is making in hiring a new person from overseas. So except in certain circumstances. So if the employer is, exploiting you in some way, and they're like, you have to live in the housing that I provided, and I'm going to kick you out if you don't work, or if they're not paying you what they said they were going to pay, or if the job duties are really different from when you first started, and you started out as a software guy and now you're sweeping floors or whatever. You can say, this isn't really what I signed up for, and then you can leave.
But then you can leave and literally just go to another job, or you have to notice the Department of Enterprise. Like, do you have to deal with this somehow, or you just can't change the job, or you have to give?
No, it is a process. Yeah. So I don't know anybody who has done this. I just know this is what the rules are.
Okay.
And everybody wants to know. Well, what happens if I lose my job, or if I quit my job? And they all want to know, but nobody's losing their job or quitting.
Yeah, I understand that they are doing a sacrifice coming here. So if they say that you have to stay at least 1 year, they will do it. And then after 1 year, they will decide if they want to stay within the company, or they just want to try different things. So
yeah. So yeah. And you have to keep living up to all your visa terms. So you would, you have to have private health insurance and things like that. Otherwise, you could have your visa revoked, and you would be sent back to your home country.
Okay, so we're talking here about that after 1 year you can change the job, after 2, 5 years. So how long does an Irish general work permit typically last? And can I renew it if I want to, or I have to wait? How does it work? How is the process?
That's a good question. So most employers want the employee to work for them indefinitely.
Okay.
95% of the employment permits we work on are just for someone who has a role to fill, an indefinite role, and they want to fill that role.
Okay.
Your employment contract, DET wants it limited to 2 years. So we can only get you an employment permit for 2 years. So that's what we almost always do, almost all the time.
Okay.
And so we get that done. And then as you're approaching the end of your 2 years, once you've got like 3 months left, you can come back to us and we will do the renewal for you. Where it's largely the same kind of form, same kind of process. They just want to check in on us, I guess, and make sure that the job is still there. It's still the same. They're still paying you the minimum, and that sort of thing. So we don't have to do another labor market needs test, which is nice. So then, and then we can renew them. We can just keep renewing them indefinitely. Actually,
Okay.
I mean, you could stay here the rest of your life getting a new work permit every 2 years if that's what you wanted to do. We don't usually renew more than a couple of times, because after 5 years, you're eligible to apply for a stamp 4 and also apply for citizenship if you've been keeping track of the right documents. And that's something that you're interested in. You can apply and become an Irish citizen. That also takes a long time. Right now, as of this call, they're taking like 19 months to approve citizenship. So you could almost do a whole other 2-year work permit in that time.
So for example, you just said that they need to keep track of the right documents. What does that mean? They have to keep the pay slips, the contract of the rent or services. What does that mean to keep all the tracking?
Yeah, and we can, it might be good to have a call about citizenship requirements, but they've been simplifying it every year or two for a while, which is nice. So last year they had a fairly complicated point system. I actually printed out the point system and had it up on the wall here next to my desk so that I could remember, okay, how do we do this for kids? You get, this many points for doctor visits and this many points for your school attendance record and all these things. And so now it's a lot simpler, and we're basically just proving your identity with your passport and then proving residence with a few other things. If you've got like your P60 form, your employee information kind of tax form, and then also like credit card statements or debit card statements from your Irish bank or Irish credit card, and they can see you've been using it in the country. You get some point of service charges on there that you're actually physically here buying things at the daybreak.
So basically, the more documents you have, the better.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to have more documents. Sometimes you look at your debit card and you can realize, oh, I didn't actually use this that much. And then you go, where's my lease agreements from the last 5 years? Did I save them? Are those still in my email somewhere? And you start digging around, and it might become a hassle. But keep track of your lease agreements, keep track of your credit card statements, keep track of your tax documents, and we'll see you after you've been here 5 years.
Perfect. So we have been talking basically about all the benefits that we get if we have a work permit and how to do it. But now let's gonna talk about the potential challenges that individuals may face while applying for an Irish work permit, an Irish general work permit. What are the problems that they encounter during the process?
One thing that we found is that it's hard to get a job from overseas, which is tough because for some people you have to. So recruiters have told me that employers are reluctant to hire low-skilled workers from other countries because they feel like the workers aren't really interested in the job itself. They just want to get the visa that gets them into the country, and then they're going to disappear. Don't do that, you guys, listeners, because that's making things worse. So you can get a job offer through your network, like having a friend or a relative make a connection for you. If you have some kind of connection here, you can have your cousin, ask around for you if you want. Or you can come here another legal way. You can sign up for an English course and then come live here and take your 8-month, 9-month English course. And while you're here, you can find a job. And that actually gets you quite a bit of time to find a job. You get the length of the course, and then you can get a stamp 1G for a year after the course. And during all of that time, you're legally allowed to be, sending out resumes and going to job interviews if that's what you want to do. While you're in school, you do have a limit to how many hours you can work. So you can't just take your full-time job while you're in class.
So you just can't take a part-time if you're studying, right? You have like a 20 hours studying, a week. Is that the limit? So basically right. Part-time.
Right. But then once you graduate, obviously, you get the year of your 1G and you're free to, go do whatever, start your career. So less common than that, I've also heard of some employers who just refuse to participate in getting employment permits for their current employees. So a couple of people have contacted us, and they're working for an Irish company on their stamp 1G after they've graduated, and they need a new job offer from a different employer because their current employer has a strict policy never to help with an employment permit. So I don't know what this is about. It's not as common, but I've heard of it from more than one person, and it's extremely frustrating knowing that this employer already has a good person in place in the role and trained to do the job. They've trained this person how to do the job. They know how to do it, and now this person has to leave because they're like, I don't want to sign a form,
Yeah.
All right, I don't know, So
yeah, they don't want to be in the process.
Right. Maybe their non-EU numbers are at their limit. They're already at 50% non-EU, and they just can't hire another non-EU person. Yeah, so that's frustrating, but they do have time. They have time to go find another job and get hired. and they're already here, which is not going to hit kind of the hurdle I was talking about before, where they
Yeah.
don't want to hire someone from outside of the country. They can tell you're not just trying to get into the country because you're here standing in
Yeah,
front of them.
yeah. Now it
Um,
will be way easier because they don't have to deal with someone who is in another country. They trust
Right.
that that person has been working in the country already with this company. They can actually call the company for references. So the hassle is not going to be that difficult after you got a job already and you want
Right.
to try to transfer. So
Yeah.
basically, the most difficult part in the process is get the job. And obviously, if you are in overseas, it will be even more difficult. So
Yeah.
obviously, try to follow your advices. Try to create a network that your cousin is in the country. You know this guy. Try to get me an interview, a Zoom call. Try to talk with them. Try to convince them. You have the experience at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that will be the most difficult point, I'd say. Then the rest of the process, we have professionals that will worry about that part.
Right.
So we're talking before about, I don't know if you have any more information about it, about this question. Is that all? Basically, that's the most difficult part, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, it's potentially possible that someone qualified will apply for your job
Yeah.
during the labor market needs test. In which case that, puts us in a tough spot. But so far that has not happened. Employers are not getting a ton of applicants for most of their jobs, and the applications they're getting are mostly, underqualified. If you're a bricklayer, and someone else, sends in a resume that says, I've been stocking shelves. Can I be a bricklayer? We don't have to worry about that. They're not they're not qualified for your job. So, and thus far we haven't had to deal with like EU competitors for these jobs either. I think that, a lot of other EU people are mostly content, with their own job
Yeah.
markets.
So we're talking before that there was kind of a changes in the policy that, for example, there was a point that we had problem with the housing, so we needed bricklayers. So there are any updates or changes in the regulations related to Irish general work permits that they should know?
Yeah, it like I said, it changes really gradually. So the minister only posts something every a couple times a year, basically. Um, uh, either like introducing or closing a new quota for certain jobs. So this is a funny kind of middle area, where it's not on the ineligible list, but they don't want to get like 10,000 people applying for these jobs, and so um they know, and I think probably industry people must be approaching the minister and saying, this is killing me. Like I can't get a dairy worker, and I'm going to go out of business because I can't
Yeah.
milk all these cows myself, and I can't find any Irish people who want to do it. And so the minister will open up a quota and say, okay, well, we'll take 500 of these or 1,000 of these. And so these like in the last couple of years, we've gotten quotas for dairy farm assistants. Obviously, Ireland is famous for its dairy. Even when I was in the U.S., we bought Irish butter. I don't know if people know that. That we the Kerrygold is the good stuff worldwide. And then meat deboners, meat processing operatives, horticultural workers, which is like working inside a greenhouse where
Right.
you're cultivating. Home carers, they those are eligible, but in certain amounts. Bus and coach drivers, hospitality managers, like managing a hotel, or being an assistant manager to a hotel or whatever, or work riders. I wasn't sure what that was at first, but I looked it up, and it's some kind of animal care thing. I think it's like a ranching job.
Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
didn't have any idea.
yeah, yeah. There's probably some equestrians out there shouting at us right now through their speaker of what that is. But yeah, so those are those kinds of jobs. We could get them. Some of those quotas are probably still open, and some of them are closed. I know, the meat ones got closed recently. I believe dairy farm has got closed recently. But others, we can look into and see, are these full yet? If we apply to one of these, will you consider it?
Yeah.
And so that's something we can something we can look into for you. And maybe, if you're a dairy farm worker in your home country, and you have someone here that wants to hire you, we can just kind of watch that announcement page, and they'll tell us, we're going to open 500 slots for dairy farm workers in 35 days. Start your labor market needs test now. and and so we fire that up, and we can tell you, hey, it's go time. We tell the employer we're going to have a guy for you in about 8 weeks here.
Okay.
And we could get that done. But the timing is tough on that one. So but it's possible if that's what your career is.
Yeah. Nowadays, with all these work permits and all these agencies and professionals, almost everything is possible if you want to come to Ireland now. So obviously we have talked about all the process, about all the benefits that you and the employer can get if you get a work permit. But for example, if you are right now in, let's say, India, and you are planning to come here, right? Obviously we have talked about it before, all the advices and all the things that you have to consider when you want to apply. But basically, the main advices is start with the main thing, that is get a job and have everything ready, all the documents ready. You have all the information on the website that we have provided before. You have this podcast that you have all the information that you need. And do you have any other advice that probably they should consider, that they should be aware of, like some other advice, basically?
Yeah. They there's like I said, there's kind of aspects of the situation that will make it easier or harder to get the work permit. And so, having qualifications that other people don't have, is a big deal. And being physically here, so that you don't look like you're just trying to get a ticket, through the front door into the country. So I think if you come here and you're getting you're taking a 2-year program in marketing or something involving computers here in Ireland, that's pretty good. You're getting the qualification. You're physically here. You're getting a stamp 1G that lets you walk around after you graduate, looking for a job. So that puts you in a pretty strong position to, find some job openings. Say, hey, look, I just got this qualification. I even did an internship or whatever during my degree, and I know what I'm doing. And they can say, great, I don't know how to do a work permit, though I've never done an employment permit. And you say, that's fine. I listened to this podcast. I know people who can take care of the employment permit for us. They'll get it approved. They're in a good position. So yeah, I mean, what you don't want to do is just kind of send blank, like, stock unsolicited messages or whatever. I personally get messages pretty often of people in other countries saying, hey, I really want to live in Ireland, please help me. And I'm like, yeah, once you got the job offer, we'll get it done, and they say, but I don't know how to find a job. How do I find a job? And I say, I mean, you just have to
open Google,
you have to do what everyone else does.
LinkedIn.
Yeah. You say,
Facebook
well,
groups.
I'm whatever I am, and just Google that jobs in Ireland. Be like,
Simple as that.
Right. I'm an immigration consultant jobs in Ireland. And see what pops up, and start contacting those people and saying, hey, don't just be like, I can do anything either. That's not gonna work for people. You want to be able to say, like, this is my thing that I do. I'm good at this thing. I'm good at plaster. I know how to drive a forklift, whatever the thing is that you can do, and then try and find someone who's looking for that, because there probably is somebody who's looking for that. Business is doing very, very well in Ireland, and they need people, and they just don't have people. So don't randomly email recruiters and say, I want to move here. I'll do any job. just what job can I have.
Yeah. I understand that people want to do as soon as possible, and they obviously, that's good. It's better to start the process as soon as possible, but you have to be ready, because then you're just wasting your time. And for example, you contact a recruiter with a very, very bad email, like it's not complete. You need to give them more information. If you do that, what you are doing is lose an opportunity, because probably if you don't, okay, I want a job, give me a job, I don't know what to do. So you are desperate, you don't have probably the right information, and you send the email. Maybe you send 10-20 emails, and you know that you didn't do a great job, because you knew that if you put more effort on the email, you could get more results. So what you do is that you close 20 doors that they are gonna probably not answer you later. So better take your time, take every offer, take every job opportunity, like the one that is gonna give you the job. Like take every email, like, okay, I have to write a good email, I'm gonna make it easier for them, I'm gonna give them all the information that they need, and try to do the things as good as possible and as fast as possible. Obviously, if you don't have the right information, you always have the internet. You can check the websites, or you can send us an email that we will help you with all what you need.
The wrong approach is like you were saying, you don't want to come in with a general, I want any kind of job. The approach you want to take is, I've started my career in my home country here. I would like to continue my career in Ireland. I think that will be important for my career growth and my development as a whatever I am. I'm a librarian. I've been a librarian in my home country. Now I want to be a librarian in Ireland. I'm a play worker. I run a creche in my home country. I want to be a play worker in Ireland. And I think, there's some good opportunities here, and I'd like to, develop as that kind of person. I want to manage hotels in Ireland. I know, Ireland has the best hotels or whatever, make it sound good. And then, or I want to be a tour guide. I speak Mandarin or whatever, and when Chinese tourists come to Ireland, they're going to want tour guides who speak their home language, and I want to show them the beautiful countryside and the cultural heritage of this beautiful country. So I'd like to come be a tour guide for you. Here's my experience. I've been doing that in my home country for a year, and I'm good at it, and I would be good at it for you as well. And you can kind of take this career building approach.
Like, one advice that they could use is that they should take this email like an interview. Try to answer all or most of the questions that they know that they're going to be asked in the interview, because some people just send an email and they think, okay, I'm going to send this email, and in the interview, I'm going to tell them all what I know and why they should hire me. But if that first email is not good enough, they are not going to give you the opportunity. So try to put all the information on that email. Try to ask yourself the right questions. Okay, they are looking for this profile. They need for this kind of person. So I'm going to give them all the information that they want, all the information that they need, and I'm going to show that I'm motivated and I'm willing to do all the process as good and as fast as possible. So take this email like the first step. And obviously it is the first step, and you should start with the right foot. Do everything properly, basically. So we have talked about that so many companies are willing to accept people overseas, and basically how does an Irish general work permit contribute to Ireland's economy? How do they get benefits from it? Does the country improve somehow?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is a big resounding yes. Our employment rate here in Ireland is right around 4%, which I don't, if you've ever paid attention to unemployment rates in any country. I mean, if you're listening to this, you might not even live in Ireland. You might just be back in your home country, and your hat just shot off at the prospect of 4% unemployment. I don't think that's ever happened in the United States, where I'm from, in my lifetime. Experts consider that like effectively total employment. Like anyone who wants a job has a job at that point. So it's astonishingly low. It's preposterously low. So we have a lot of work that needs doing. Like Ireland's economy is doing very well, and a lot of businesses are growing and they're expanding. They're opening new locations. They're diversifying, the kinds of services they offer. They're trying to, expand what they do. Like we need to be building, excuse me, we need to be building like 50,000 homes a year, new homes, is what I heard from one source. So we have certain sectors that are individually starved for workers,
Yeah.
like hospitals. Um, and that can cause problems for the hospitals, if you don't have enough medical assistants, you don't have enough nurses to cover all the shifts. And waits can become really long. Super low unemployment can also increase inflation, because workers can negotiate for higher wages because there just isn't anyone else available. I mean, if the business is desperate for um, whatever, then the employee can say, you got one applicant for this. I
Not-
would like 75,000 euro a year, please. And it can kind of, and the business has to raise prices, and then other people, rent goes up and the cost of bread
yeah.
goes up, and everything happens in this chain reaction. So and then there's also some more kind of complicated interaction with the EU labor market, since
Okay.
anyone in the EU can apply for jobs here. They don't need a work permit to work here. But I think also people are less likely to leave their home country and leave their relatives and their home culture if the new quality of life is going to be about the same as it was in their old country. And there also might be a language barrier if you're coming from Portugal or Romania and your English isn't very polished. And so that might discourage you from like looking for work here. And it might even make it harder for employers to hire you, because they're going to say, well, this is a customer facing job or whatever, like we're selling tractors to other businesses, and if you can't tell what they're if you can't understand each other, you're not going to be able to sell these tractors. Um so um so I think I think there are some kind of soft barriers
Yeah.
between us and the rest of the EU potential employees. But yeah, more construction workers can build homes. New managers and teachers and welders and HR professionals can fill roles that need filling when there aren't enough people here in Ireland who have those qualifications. Um, trying to grow your business without being able to get the right people can be not only frustrating, but
Challenging.
it can also cost you clients and contracts. If you put a bid in for a contract, but it's beyond you. You just don't have enough people
Yeah.
to do that.
You get 10 new clients and you just have 2 employees.
Right. You just can't handle that business, and you're not going to be able to get new employees because we're at 4% unemployment, and there
Like,
just aren't enough people here who
I
are
think
looking
that
for jobs.
I think that people that live out of Ireland, they don't realize of the amount of job offers that there are every day on, for example, Indeed. If you open Indeed right now, you will see that just today there are hundreds of new job offers. That, for example, before I was living in Spain and Colombia, I didn't see these things. Here, every day, new job offer in different industries, different job positions, and looks it is not so difficult to get a job if you have the right experience and knowledge. There are so many opportunities out here.
Yeah, there's also I think a diversity component.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of knowledge here in Ireland, obviously, and great educational institutions. But there's no getting around that we're a very small country.
Mhm.
And there's a benefit to be gained from bringing in other people in the same field who have learned from different professors and had different training and different mentors than the people who have been living here a long time, and people who got their cert here and went to university here. um and so these other people are going to have different techniques to what you're doing. They're going to have different approaches and viewpoints on certain challenges, and they can contribute a lot to a team that's trying to overcome these challenges, instead of having you get this kind of I don't know what the right term is. I'm sure there is a right term, but it's where all the knowledge is kind of recycling itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
understand. I
so
say.
it's good to kind of integrate with these people who have learned from other places, and we can kind of take what's good of what they know and kind of add it to what we're recycling, and then when their people that worked with them get trained and they become the people who are mentoring people, then that information gets added, and it makes us just stronger in every way as a country.
Perfect. So yeah, one of the reasons as well that Ireland is in a good moment right now is because there are so many multinational companies that they are coming here to establish in Ireland. For example, Microsoft. We have different big companies that are hiring at the moment. You can always check their website. You go, for example, to Microsoft, and you can check that they almost all the time they have job offers. You just have to go to careers and you can check all the different positions that they have open. So this is not just like, okay, I know that Ireland is a small country and there are just local businesses. That's not the case here. It's a small country, but the location is good, and so many companies come here to Ireland to have different locations. And Ireland is a good country in this aspect.
Yeah. I mean, just here in Cork, every pharmaceutical company I've ever heard of has a has a location within 10 kilometers of my house. And Ireland has a huge tourism industry. We have a big mining industry, all kinds of services, financial services, um, lots of educational institutions. Um, just about anything you do
No.
is something that we do here.
Very safe place as well.
Yeah.
So obviously now we are talking about benefits, restriction. As we know, in 2019 the COVID appeared, and obviously it has been almost 4 years since that happens, and now probably there's still some people that are wondering if there is still any specific requirement or restrictions related with COVID-19. Is there any restriction or everything is gone already?
There's no restrictions as far as work permits. DET has never, as far as I can tell, had any um requirements or anything about being quarantined for a certain period or vaccinations or anything like that. There used to be for travel, and I believe there aren't for travel anymore. But as far as the work permit, it's always been completely disconnected from that. DET's always just focused on, the kind of requirements we've talked about here. Were you allowed to job hunt, and then like whether the candidate has the actual qualifications for the role.
So people don't have to worry about it. They just have to worry that they have the right qualifications.
Yeah.
Perfect. So as we said before, if I said before, you're American attorney. You have so much experience on the field, and I would like to tell us a little bit more about success stories or case studies of individuals who have obtained an Irish General Work Permit.
Um, yeah, I That's a good question. We unfortunately, I don't think are usually like in touch with the people once they've kind of achieved their goal. Um, so
That's good because
we'll get the excited email. We'll
yeah,
get the excited email that's like, I just got approved. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the greatest. And we'll say, yeah, you're welcome.
yeah.
Here's a link to Google and here's a link to Facebook. Please,
Yeah.
please leave us a review. And hopefully they do. But
That's good because they didn't have any problems, so they didn't have to come back. Everything was set up, and the job was well done. And
that's
now
true.
they
Yeah.
are living their good life with their new job and new opportunities. So basically,
Yeah.
here this, yeah. Tell me.
I was looking at recent ones we've done for general work permits. We did a marketing analyst for a small business in the middle of the country. So a small collection of shops wanted to tighten up their marketing strategy, and so a marketing analyst is a great general work permit job. We got a permit for a Thai chef at a Thai restaurant. That's something we're pretty good at. Chefs, DETE has some different requirements for that application because they
Okay.
don't want, you're not allowed to you can't get work permits for being flipping burgers at McDonald's. You need to they only want like proper chefs, with qualifications. And so we were able to come up with all the extra documentation and everything to get her position there. And that one's pretty cool. And then we got a night shift operations coordinator for a coach company. So there's coaches traveling back and forth all over the country
Okay.
as people need, and this company needed a guy who knew how to do it. He knew how to run the system, which he had done in his home country. And they need someone to just coordinate all the bus drivers overnight, essentially. And so that's what he did, and he had good qualifications, and we got the permit for him.
Usually, a work permit can change all their lives. They get
Yeah.
a new life here. They get a new job. Hopefully they can bring their families, and living in a nice country like Ireland is already a success. A safe place, beautiful place. If you like a cold weather, this is the place for you. If you don't like the cold weather, just wear a jacket. Everything will be all right. So that's all the information that we are going to share about work permits. You have this podcast if you want to watch it again on YouTube and other social media platforms. You can always check our website and the links that we provided before. If you have any question, you can always check our website. We have the emails that you can send any questions that you have. We will answer you as soon as possible. We have many agents in the company, and they will be more than happy to help you. Thank you very much for being here. Ryan, thank you very much for your knowledge, and see you in the next one.
Yeah, thank you.